And so we can move right along here. I just want to introduce our board members that are in play tonight. Vicky, are you around?
Yes.
And
Hello,
Okay, is that a yes?
that was a yes, yes.
Okay, is Vicky Supporter, Captain Vicky Supporter, is our vice president. She may be on one of the other screens, so just wave your hand. Hamilton Gale is our assistant vice president. It probably says Bonnie's iPad, which, okay, well, something happened there. It looks like he's frozen or something, but I know he's here. Our secretary is Captain Priscilla Travis. Priscilla, there you are. Our treasurer is Captain Carl Bart. He's waving his hand. Con Ed is continuing education. Captain Zach Jasnoff. I'm sorry.
Jasnoff, you got it. Hi,
Okay.
everybody.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Wave your hand so they can see.
Hey, everybody.
Jobs program. Kevin Miller, are you on tonight? Okay, possibly not. Oh, there you are, Vicky. I see you down at the bottom. Membership, Captain Philip Galdier. There he is on the aircraft carrier. Or is that a helicopter carrier? Webmaster David Sire.
hello.
And last but not least, our programs and events director is Captain Yvonne Brandt. And I will turn it over to her to introduce the speaker of the night.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, our speaker tonight is Captain Elizabeth Christman. And Captain Christman is a Maryland Bay pilot, and she's been a Bay pilot for over 20 years, and she has safely helped navigate large ships of different shapes and sizes and nationalities up and down the Bay. And recently she was elected to the position of vice president for the Association of Maryland Pilots, and certainly knows a thing or two about how to stay safe on the Bay. And I will turn it over to you, Captain Christman, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these great videos and slides and pictures.
All right, I'm unmuted, so I will be ready to go here.
Okay, so you got it. It's all up to you.
Gotta share my screen, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, if I,
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second.
that's all right.
That's on me.
Well, that's good. That's good. I don't see share screen yet.
No,
but
hold on.
as soon as I can.
There you go. You should be able to do it now.
All right. Sorry, I'm at my home phone. I'm at my home one today, so maybe I share. Whiteboard iPad.
Yeah, I just allowed it, so we should be able to.
Okay. Well, that's embarrassing. Let's see. We had it working fine in my office today. Thank you, by the way, for letting me do it.
Yeah, down at the
I've got it
bottom,
on
you
the-
don't see
Yeah,
share.
I hit the share screen and then it comes up and it's not giving me, let me see, files, slides is verse. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can find it here. That's not what I want to. I just want to share my screen. Desktop. Let's try.
Well, while you're working on that,
Yeah, sorry. If you need,
Yeah.
if you have some business, go right ahead. For some reason, I'm not finding what I need to do.
Yeah, well, I would, in the intro, I meant to also say that you are the the second woman pilot for the Bay, 2 of 3 I read, which is very exciting. Another great accolade. And yeah, and it seems like you've done a lot of great work with not only being a pilot, but with leadership and mentorship, and it's inspirational in so many different ways.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Been working, 25 years as a Maryland pilot. And if I can't get this going, this is really upsetting to me, quite frankly. I have a nice PowerPoint for all of you.
Oh, it's really nice. We saw it this
And
afternoon.
I don't know why, like I can't get it to come up. I hit oh, there it is. All of a sudden it's working. There we
Okay,
go.
cool.
Thank goodness. Share, yay.
There you
All
go.
right, it's not a total failure. I was going to be very depressed if I couldn't pilot my way through this. So there we go. So now, sorry about that, folks, and thank you for tuning in tonight to listen to me speak. As you know, Yvonne gave me a nice intro there, so you know a lot about me already. This is me piloting the other day with my mask, since we have to wear a mask on board, my helmet, my float coat. Yeah, I graduated from SUNY Maritime College, 1987. I have an unlimited master's license. I went back at one point in my seafaring career, worked at the school for a little while, and went to night school, worked on the training ship, and got my master's degree in transportation management. And then I joined the Association of Maryland Pilots in 1996. So that's where I've been since there. Like it's been a nice 25 years, was February 1st. So I thought I'd give you a little overview of the pilots, and I've tried to put some of the ships that we pilot, these modern ships. Most of these have all come from my iPhone, my professional iPhone. This one, actually, one of the apprentice pilots took. As Yvonne mentioned, there's actually 2 other female pilots, and I'm sandwiched in the middle. I was the second one here. And I'm passing one of the other lady pilots here. We're both on big LNG tankers off of Cove Point. So it's a beautiful picture. We actually have it on our tide book for this year. It's a nice photo. So presently at the Maryland Pilots, we have 75 pilots, unlimited pilots, limited pilots, and training pilots. The unlimited pilots were the senior pilots. That's me. We handle any size and all drafts. The limited license pilots, they're limited license for 3 years, and they start out a draft at 31 feet, go to 35 and 39 feet. And each year they get elevated. And they get a little bit, we allow longer length and beam, but draft is easier to tell what level they are at. Then we have our training pilots, and they ride with the senior pilots for 2 years before they can become limited license pilots. And we've been around since 1852. We're the first state codified pilot group in the United States. We're kind of proud of that. And so who oversees us is the Maryland Department of Labor. I get my license from the Occupational Professional Licensing branch of the Maryland Department of Labor. We have a Maryland Board of Pilots that oversees the pilots. It's made up of some folks in the state, some commercial and folks, and then some pilots. They decide how many pilots we need for the business that's coming to the port. It helps select the individuals that we're going to have join our training program, oversees the training, licenses the pilots, and investigates incidents and discipline pilots if need be. We luckily don't have too much of that going on. We're pretty proud of that. So we cover a pretty large area. So, for a pilot group, we're a pretty big organization. We have 6 stations. I'll start with Chesapeake City up on the C&D Canal. And then we have the Dundalk Marine Terminal, where we have our harbor launches that, go out and bring the docking pilot out after we come up the long bay. The docking pilot will come on and dock the ship. We've got the main office right in Highlandtown on Dillon Street. It's the old Natty Bow building. And we just recently renovated it. Looks pretty nice, pretty happy with it. The Solomons Island, or Solomons, Maryland, is the mid-bay station where we, sometimes pilots on long trips will relieve pilots mid-bay. We have down in Lynn Haven where we have our pilot house down there, and we're right next to the Virginia pilots. We have our pilot boats at that station, and pilots can go ashore and get some rest in between jobs. We have the tower out at Cape Henry. We share that with the Virginia pilots. We had 2 guys sitting up there, always standing watch, help getting the ships, up the sea lane and safely board their pilots. So it's pretty extensive. We have 11 launches in our fleet. We have 4 Gliding Hearn built in the 2000s. We just took delivery of the Susquehanna. That's our newest, biggest boat. That'll be down at the Virginia Capes. And we have 4 Helmatics that we bought in the 80s over from Devonshire, England.
Yeah.
And we have 3 Bro Brother boats that we, bought throughout the 60s through till the 80s. So we're actually going to take delivery in April of another boat that we're going to use, Gliding and Hearn, specifically built for Baltimore Harbor. So that'll be the first boat we built up in there, and many specifically for Baltimore Harbor in a long time. So we're pretty excited about that. So, so the most dangerous part of our job, of course, is getting on and off ships. This is just a picture of me and the other pilot disembarking the other day on that big Maersk ship that came in. I'll have some video of that a little later, and just gives you a perspective of going down the accommodation ladder. Then we climb the rope ladder down to the launch. And it was a cold morning, so if you look on the deck of the vedette, there's a lot of rock salt that we have to throw on there. Our new boat, we're so excited, is going to have heated decks and heated handrails, so it's going to avoid some of that. So that'll be great. And here's a little video just on our big launch at Cape Henry. Gives you an idea. It's a nice summer day, just heading out to a ship. So they're nice boats. We really have been pleased with them. So the route, I think probably most of you here are pretty familiar. It's almost 200 nautical miles that we cover, 150 miles north and south, 50 miles from Baltimore up to through the C&D Canal. And then the purple indicates just the approach channels there. It's 16.8 miles bridge to bridge via the deep water channels. So nice long route. So the average time on, all of these ships, our average time is about 10 and a half hours for the north-south route, and about 4 hours from Baltimore, to and from the C&D Canal. This is a picture of my office when I'm on the ship. It's actually behind me here. It's just reversed. So of course I have my cup of coffee to my left. My personal iPad that I use, just that I like to try and save papers, so my logbook is electronic. In between there is the ship's particulars. It'll give me all the information, the length, the breadth, the depth, the draft, the air draft, all that kind of thing. And the master pilot exchange that the captain and I review when we get on, make sure, he and I discuss what's going to transpire as we come up the bay. And next to that is my portable PPU, or my portable pilot unit. Gives me, my precise navigation. So especially when we're in bad visibility, unlike a day that I'm showing there, it gives us our exact location in the channels. And when we have to meet these big ships, it's kind of important to be on your side. Picture of the bridge. I don't know if some of you probably have seen this, but beautiful sunset up there. But a lot of information for us. We have ECDIS, we have radar, dual radars. We've got information on the draft, on the depth below the keel, the engine RPMs, the wind, how you're being set. It's got all sorts of, lots of data to look at if you so inclined. But the best thing is always looking out the window, right? So you see where you're going. So this is just a fun picture of myself, and that's a Bulgarian captain, and I think it was a Ukrainian third mate, and behind them in his coverall steering is the Filipino helmsman. And that was my dinner that they brought up. So I get a mix of, Bulgarian and Filipino and variety of foods, depending on who the cookie is down below. So, but it's always good. And I had some nice salmon there in the salad. It's quite tasty. Because, pilots are always worried about good coffee and good food when you have a 10-hour ship up the bay. So a little something thought I would talk about that's on all of our minds in the Port of Baltimore. The ships are getting bigger and bigger, and something we haven't had to think much about is getting under the bridges. But the ships are so big now, we have ships that we got to watch out getting under the bridges. So on the left there's giving me data from the ports data, the real-time data of the air gap. And I've got Francis Scott Key Bridge there and the Bay Bridge. I'll show you a little video here in a minute, but it gives us the exact amount. And so when I get on board, especially with ships like this, we got to be certain that we're gonna clear there. So we check with the vessel particulars, discuss with the master, make sure they've calculated everything correctly. Consult the NOAA ports data, and then we got to line her up for the middle of the span or close to it. The Key Bridge has some navigation lights sticking down about 5 feet, so we like to be just a little off the center line there. So this is a picture of the ship that I was on, is the Gunvor Maersk, 1,200 feet long, 140-foot beam, air draft calculated at 181, and the air gap at the Bay Bridge when we went under was 188 and 186 when we went under the Key Bridge. So it was what just happened in February. I was pilot on here. So here's a little video, gives you an idea. I'm up on the flying bridge here going under. This is the Bay Bridge, the 2 spans of the Bay Bridge. Light out of the northwest, 28 degrees. So it's more cool up here today. You're going to hear some crew talking in the background. They're up on the flying bridge with me. Start hearing the traffic on the bridge. All right, there's a testament to air gap being correct. So that was a fun little video. I figured Yvonne had asked me for some close call situation. I said, I don't want to share any of my close call sea stories, but how about going under the bridge? That's pretty close. I actually shot that for NOAA because they want to have some real video of how their real-time data is being used. And we have to use it now. We rely on it very much to get these ships. In this picture here, we have 2 Cape class bulk carriers. I'm on the outbound loaded one at 47 feet 6 inches, and that's an inbound in ballast going up to the berth I just cleared. So it's kind of important to have that data. We are always looking at the tides and the air gap now. Anyways, I thought I would go over, and many of you might know this, and I apologize if I'm repeating, but how to interact with us on the bay. Pilots are always monitoring channel 13. You can get us on 16, but we'll usually transfer you over if we're going to make passing agreements on another channel. Ships follow the old Susquehanna riverbed, or as we call it, the 60-foot curve, right? The deepest water in the bay. That's where you'll find most of us. We're moving along, and especially this ship that I'm on here, it has to be in the deepest water. So sometimes you're on a lighter draft vessel, you know, a smaller ship, the lighter draft, maybe only drawn 29 feet. You might not stay right in that deep water, get out of the way of these big guys that you're going to pass. Tug traffic, they usually stay over on the western shore. You know, we don't meet up with them too often. There's a couple, you know, choke points in the bay, but for the most part, they'll be on the western shore unless they're going, you know, up one of the rivers on the east, and they'll cross over. And, you know, now with AIS, it's nice, you know, they know who we are, we know who they are, and it makes it a little easier for communication for passing. We're always looking out the window, but you know, if you get too close to us, as you can see, like a ship this size, I'm not going to see you if you're under my bow. Makes us a little nervous. So I would just ask that if you're out there and you see a big ship, take the stern. It's usually more comfortable for us. I know that. Probably more comfortable for you too, if you're not sure. How can you avoid having a close call with the larger merchant ships? I mean, rule 9, narrow channels, you know, if you see a big ship in the channels, just stay out of the channel. That's pretty simple. Rule number 4 and 5, you know, 4, monitor channel 13. If you want to hear us talking to each other and the other traffic, that's where you're going to hear us. And keep a proper lookout, you know. It's one thing that you know, we call on the radio, we'll try 13, 16, anything, but we don't want to get down to where we're at rule 34, where we're blowing the whistle at you. 5 short usually means we don't know what you're doing. It's never good. I don't like to see, sometimes when sailboats are out there, you know, they might be on a tack. I always look to see what tack they're on to see if they can see me, even though I'm big, if their sail's in the way. So just stand a good lookout. That's probably the best thing I can say. And if in doubt, you can always give us a shout. So here's one of my little stories on the lower left there. This fella was going to make it across my bow just nicely. And when he got right up there in the top left, he tacked and came back across my bow. So then what I saw was over here on your left, just a little sliver of his sail there. Of course, I was blowing my whistle and the captain was running back and forth. So that was, you know, that's what we see up there. You can see all the guys rock fishing over there this is just above Sandy Point. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but the range lights are kind of out farther in these pictures. You see I'm you know, pretty much in the middle of the channel. So that's one of my close calls for you, Yvonne. So another thing that I've noticed a lot now that we have AIS, you know, I notice a lot of, especially like the fishing vessels when it's foggy out there and they're out there and they'll, you know, they may have AIS, but radar is still collision avoidance. AIS is an automated information system. It's great to know the name of the vessel and call somebody, but it's not great for collision avoidance. So, and it shouldn't be relied on. If it's foggy and you don't have radar, it's not wise to be out there without another, you know, being able to see far enough to avoid collision. Sometimes it can get real soupy. I gave this, you know, and you can see here, I'm approaching the Bay Bridge. You see the anchored ships off Annapolis, and, you know, it's a summer day, so there's a lot of recreational boaters out, and that's what my radar looks like. So a couple AIS targets, but a lot of other non-AIS targets, right? So it's good to keep a lookout. And especially on a day like when you don't have fog, looking out the window. And something that pilots do, you know, for me, it's real simple. When I've got a whole bunch of small boat traffic, I'm watching that bearing all the time. You know, if you have the steady bearing and decreasing range, it's pretty simple. You're on a collision course. So I kind of, as I'm standing in those bridge windows, you can kind of get, you know, a bearing on things. And if you look away for a little bit and look back and that sailboat's still on the same bearing, you know, you got to keep an eye on them. So that's how we do it.
Captain Christman, someone Craig had a question for you. Yes,
Sure.
did you ever put a lookout on the bow?
Oh, yeah, we sure do. It depends, you know, on the conditions. Sometimes we have to put a lookout on the bay because like we have a cargo where you can't see very well. As a matter of fact, we have one coming up here soon with some cranes. And, you know, we'll probably have to have lookouts on the bridge wings and the bows to get that ship up because you can't see. So yes, and visibility, you know, we'll put somebody up on the bow. We'll usually have somebody on the bow going, you know, across the Bay Bridge tunnel because you're supposed to have somebody standing by the anchors. And same thing going under the bridges. We'll usually have somebody up there standing by the anchors should you lose your engines or steering. So that's usually somebody's up on the bow during those times too. So my big advice is be safe, be alert, and if in doubt, call us on 13 and enjoy the bay. It's beautiful. So I'm open to questions. I guess I can stop sharing, right, Bill? And then I can see the chat if anybody would like to do so.
Yeah, you can stop sharing. And Yvonne, do you have have you seen anything very interesting for to let Beth know?
I just saw the one about the lookout, and then everybody loves the video, of course. I have a question. You know, what is it? All the boats that we always see anchored out of Annapolis,
Sure.
they're waiting to be called in, I assume. But is there anything else about that process that we should know?
You know, normally it's awaiting the berth. You know, sometimes it's a waiting order. Sometimes they might leave Baltimore and anchor there because they might be in ballast and they don't have, you know, their charter or their owner haven't secured a cargo for them yet. So they might stay in the bay. But yeah, you know, sometimes they have mechanical issues that need to be resolved, you know, so that they'll stop off down there and that's a spot they can affect repairs. Sometimes it's just simple. They have to change like a cylinder in the engine and it's just a few hours of work and then they can steam down the bay, that kind of thing. But most of the time, if you see the ships that wait are the bulk carriers, right? The Domino Sugar, when they're active, they've always got a ship or a barge in that berth. If you ever see, that's, you know, one of the main refineries in the United States. So there'll always be like a sugar ship waiting down there. And then those other ones that you saw in some of my pictures, most of them look like coal. So a lot of coal. We have two big, you know, coal terminals. And so you'll be, usually when one leaves a berth, one's shifting up from Annapolis.
All right. We have a question from Bob Swartz, who would like to know, how do you handle the pressure?
Well, I don't know. It's once you get to that level, you know, you've seen a lot of things in your seafaring career. So you know how to handle it. The main thing you have to be as cool as a cucumber, right? Because you don't want the crew to be alarmed and start doing things you don't want them to do. So I find it's best to just be cool, calm, and collected, and you know, give your orders, and even though your heart may be racing, which does happen, you know, keep your voice steady. That's the best thing you can do. But it does take practice. There's sometimes when you know, you just got to get things done and you got to move fast. So
yeah. Do you ever take control, or is it it's always just verbal to the other person, the helmsman?
I mean, we're directing the movement. So once I take over from the captain, I'm in charge, you know, I'm giving all the commands. You know, so it's very yeah, so I don't know. I don't physically steer the ship. I mean, unless the guy has to go to the bathroom once in a while, I might do it for him just for fun. But I did a lot of steering in my days of merchant ship when I was an officer.
All right,
Yvonne,
Chris, yes?
we have one question. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. It came up a little bit early. It's quite
Yeah.
a specific one, and it's from Hans Hoffman. Are you being trained on piloting post-Panamax vessels? And how
Yes.
would you handle safe passage of the York Spit Channel?
Well, yes, we do. And it will depend. We've got some ships that are coming now that the Hampton Roads, the Virginia pilots, they've kind of got a policy that they designate one-way traffic for these ultra-large container ships. And we've done a lot of simulator training, meeting like post-Panamax, big bulk carrier and one of those container ships. And we know we have to go 8 knots. If there's a lot of wind or current, probably don't want to meet in the channels. Everything has to be just right if you're going to meet those things. You can meet them in the York Spit. York Spit's wider than the channels we have going up into Baltimore. So, that's that a little bit wider. It's not all that. But anyways, that's what we do. We also have some one-way traffic situations when LNG tankers, we're exporting LNG now. So we have one-way traffic outbound with those vessels. So we know how to choreograph it pretty well so that we don't meet in the channels or meet in areas where we know it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But we meet them in the York Spit.
All right, Chris has a question that says, how serious is the cross current? Does it push you sideways a lot?
Depends what channel we're in, but yes, we're pretty familiar. And that's why we're the experts. We know how, a flood or an ebb is going to affect us in each kind of leg of the channel as we're coming up the channels. As you approach Baltimore, you kind of get over there on the eastern side and the effect of the current is a little less, but as the Craig Hill entrance channel to Baltimore will have a little bit of cross current, or going across the Brewerton extension over to the canal, there's a lot, and especially in the winter with our prevailing winds or northwest.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you'll crab quite a bit in those car ships. So you have to be cognizant of that for sure.
Wow. All right. Paul asks, will we see many of the super tankers on the bay?
Not super tankers. We do some oil. We do have some tankers. Most of the tankers we have are smaller. They're product tankers that go into our port. You'll see the big ones up Delaware used to handle a lot more of those larger super tankers, as they call them.
All right. Craig would like to know, how has elimination of the Lynn Haven anchorages worked out from your perspective?
It's fine for us. It doesn't make a difference. They anchor up off of Cape Charles. Probably the Virginia pilots, now they got to go a little bit farther up to the anchorage up there to get them instead of being in Lynn Haven. So it hasn't affected us much at all. Actually, it gives us more. We don't have them anchoring, and we can sometimes take the shortcut over the tail of the horseshoe down there for light draft. So we don't have any ships there anymore.
Yeah. Dennis asked, and I had this question as well. There's a pilot boat that's on Back Creek out of Annapolis, and when you were talking about where you had all your the different stations, what's going on with the one in Back Creek?
Oh, well, I guess I missed one, so I should say we have 7 stations. Well, it's not really, we don't have any, that we just keep our pilot boat there. We're keeping it Bemby's, and now I hate to say it, I can't remember the marina there that we just moved to. But yeah, that's our pilot boat that services Annapolis Anchorage, Pilot Dispatch. So
I guess you would leave out of there if you were going to go.
Yeah, we'll take that's right. We'll take a van down from Baltimore and, we'll ride the launch out or in if we're, anchoring and came up the bay and we anchor, we'll get a ride in.
Davis, my friend Davis has good questions. are the ships, do all the ships have to pick up a pilot?
Yeah, if they're foreign flag, I mean, really the regulations, it could be the size of a rowboat, but we don't do, we don't do that small. But anybody coming foreign flag, absolutely. American flag vessels involved in, commerce between US ports, they just have to have pilot. Either somebody on board has to have first class pilotage. If not, they might take a federal pilot. They sometimes take us too, state pilots. Just depends who's available for them.
So there's a federal pilot, there's federal pilots and Maryland pilots.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was
Federal pilots, it's not too many of them, but they're federal pilots. They'll do a lot of the tugboats that, sometimes maybe they don't have a mate or a master that has recency. You're supposed to, once you have your pilotage, you got to have recency in the area to transit if you're going to act as a first class pilot.
Okay. Rover asks, how do you embark and disembark a vessel during high winds and waves?
Carefully. But our boats are, our boats and our crews are trained. I mean, of course, we make a lee, and so that usually helps. I mean, the worst boarding I had, it was 80 knots nor'easter down at Cape Henry, 80 knots. It was my first trip north by myself as a pilot, and it was 25-foot waves. It was later on, like about a month later, the crew down there told me that was the roughest boarding they ever did. So I was pretty proud that now they closed the port for a gale, and which is probably safer and smarter, to be quite honest. The Virginia, Hampton Roads Coast Guard, if it looks like it's going to be really bad, they'll shut it down and wait until the heavy weather passes. But yeah, I had a Swedish captain, and he said I had him as a trainee pilot maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before. So I came up by myself. He said, "Oh, you're all by yourself?" I said, "Yes." And I didn't want to tell him it was my first time by myself. I was blowing 80 knots, and we went through the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. He said, "Pilot, I'm going to retire, and I've been at sea for 30 years. He said, "I've never seen the wind blow so hard for so long." He said, "Thank you so much for coming out." I said, "You're welcome." I said, "I hope I don't see too much more of this in my career." But yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, once.
Once, yeah.
All right, Captain Walt says, what is the typical work schedule for a pilot?
Usually when we're working, we work 2 or 3 days. And since it's a long transit, by the time you take 10 hours going down the bay, you get rest on station, say, take a ship back up, it's, 2.5, 3 days have transpired. So, and then you get a couple days off and your name comes to the top of the list and you go back to work again. So that's pretty much in 24/7, 365. Yes, we work Christmas. Yes, we work, all the holidays. Ships never stop. They work at night. That's one question I've been asked. Don't they stop at night?
No.
Nope.
All right, Diane, I like this question. I wondered this as well. Does language barrier ever present a problem?
Not as much as when I first started 25 years ago, the Russians were starting to come back to the United States, and China trade was opening up more and more. So, those countries lagged a little bit, but the language is English, the language of the sea is English. So lucky for me, because I can't speak Chinese or Russian very well, but they've really now, I rarely get on a ship where I feel they're not understanding what I'm saying, so that's gotten better and better.
All right, Jim Cummings wants you to know that he was in the deck department of the John Brown under Captain Bowman for 6 years.
Very good. Yes, one of my partners, retired, probably enjoying retirement.
All right, and Bob Schwartz says, and I like this, do you have 2 or 3 consistently big problems with recreational vessels?
Well, I'll tell you my biggest beef. I'll come up and down, I'll go all the way up the bay all night long, and I won't have any close calls. And I come up to the Bay Bridge in the middle of the night, and I see a little light out there in the center span. Why? Why do you have to be under the middle of the only place I can be? The whole bridge, you know, some little sailboat or, you know, it confounds me, but people are just compelled to go through that main span of the bridge for some reason. Plenty of room over there on all those other, you know, outside the main shipping channel.
Yeah, good point, good point. Laura wants to know, is it possible to provide us a copy of the presentation or the video? So yeah, so we're recording today, right now. Bill, you're doing that. So
Yes, I am.
so that'll be accessible. So I guess the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
And
Well, I
I would
love it.
actually would also like to get a copy of your presentation,
Okay.
so we can have it if possible.
All right. That's shouldn't be a problem. I think I can hopefully email it to you or share it Dropbox or
I
something.
give you a Dropbox link.
Okay,
Drop it in there.
perfect. Yep,
Okay.
that'll work.
All right. Ooh, Stephen has a good one. This is spicy. Does a master ever disagree with your decisions?
You know, I pride myself in, I learned early on, right? You know, there's a lot of many ways to, you know, get things done. So if I fight with the captain, right, you know, you're never gonna, it's gonna be a long drawn out ship. There's been a couple of times where I've had to say, listen, Captain, you know, we can't do what you want to do, and this is the reason. If they keep pushing back, I'm like, it's gonna be a long trip, Captain, if you and I disagree, but I can't do that, you know, and they usually relent, you know, and but you got to work with the guys on the bridge. Like I say, I've learned long ago, it's not worth if you can do what the master wants to do, that's fine, as long as it's not going to break any laws in the state of Maryland or, you know, rules of the road. You know, we're not going to go aground. You can do it.
Does that arise that there's some sort of time constraints, I imagine? Like they're trying to meet some deadline?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, we're always very, you know, we have to work with, you know, all the port partners, you know, I mean, the biggest thing is getting these container ships now in and out, because, you know, they're behind and getting all the cargo in. So, you know, and of course, Dundalk Marine Terminal right now, they have one berth that they're working on to get it shored up. And so we're going to get another set of big cranes so we can get more big container vessels, 2 of them to be able to fit in there and work at one time. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, I mean, you have to work with everybody in the port, you know, the ship's agents, they got to order labor. Labor is very expensive, and they want to make sure their ship gets up there for labor. So I'll always ask the captain, you know, what time do you have labor? If they're going to Annapolis Anchorage, you know, they don't have labor, they're going to wait. But if they're going up to Dundalk or Seagirt, you gotta know that they need to be up there. So you'll see a lot of the arrivals in the morning around 6 in the morning. You know, the container ships, they'll slide into the berth. They like to get in so they can start labor right at 8 in the morning.
Mm. Laura Olson would like to know, are many people entering in the profession?
I think so. I mean, as far as, you know, we have 6 maritime colleges and 1 federal academy that train merchant mariners, you know, officers. There's a lot of people too in the towing industry. You know, our pilots come from all, you know, the towing industry, or from, you know, going to sea on merchant ships. So yeah, I don't think we always seem to have plenty of people applying.
I thought I read though that they only accept apprenticeships every 5 years or so. Did I?
No, we're in a schedule now where we're pretty much taking a couple every year.
Okay.
We know, you know, how many pilots we need. We're in a pretty good rotation. A couple guys retire, we take in a couple. It takes us 5 years to get a senior pilot, right? So, you know, what we've been doing is the state board gets together a list. I think it's like 15 or 20 names of, you know, applicants. They interview them, and, let them ride up and down the bay with some of the pilots and get a feel for them. And then they put them in a list, and as we need them, we take them. That list has been usually lasting about 2 years, and then we'll refresh, reevaluate people. And we have plenty of applicants.
Well, I can see why. It's a cool
Yeah.
job. Chris says, what kind of license is needed to captain the pilot boats?
The pilot boats. I think gosh, I should probably know. I think most of our guys have like 100-ton license for the pilot boats, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
not the ships,
No.
but the pilot
Let's
boats.
figure that.
Yeah. Just make sure I'm clear.
Okay, and this one's good. So Philip says, as the director of membership, I have the responsibility to ask, why are you not a CAPCA member?
Oh, I don't know.
We might have to make you an honorary member.
Yeah. Because it said, when I read up on it, I was like, oh, they've got merchant, there's going to be people in there that do what I do up on the bridge of a ship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. David says, what motivated you to become a merchant marine mariner, I guess, and a pilot?
I think that, I grew up in central New York, so landlocked, but I never wanted a desk job. And my dad we had a sailboat in the Virgin Islands when I was a kid growing up. So we spent a lot of time sailing. So when I went to time to pick a school, I don't know, one of my best friends, he came running in 11th grade chemistry and said, I got a great school. There's a guy in the gym for the, career day. And there's a school, we can go to Europe every summer on a ship. I said, oh, sign us up. So we both ended up going to SUNY Maritime College and classmates. So there you have it. Then I always tell people that I'm an Aquarian, so I'm a water bear. So maybe that has something to do with it.
What kind of sailboat was it?
The first one, I forgot, I should know, but it was the second one. I think it was called an Olympic. It was built in Greece, 42-foot sailboat. I should probably know, but I'm more of a power boater now, right?
Yeah, kind of, right.
Sailboat.
Larger.
Yeah.
All right. Craig says, do you give helm EOT orders directly to the helmsman or through a conning officer? I don't know.
I give it right to the helmsman. Yeah. And the mate or the captain, usually, I give the engine orders too.
Okay. All right. Adam Yearwood asks, it takes 5 or says, oh, Adam, it takes 5 years of training to become a full, yes, that's right, a full pilot. Well, I guess you could attest to that.
Thanks, Adam. Adam went to school with me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool.
Well, his brother is a fellow pilot with me, his twin.
Beth, someone asked the question, how long does it take to become a full pilot? So I just thought I'd answer that. Still your thunder.
Oh, man. Good to see you.
Mm-hmm. All right, here a couple more here that says, what are the most important qualities for a pilot to have?
Let's see. Well, I think like we stated earlier, nice calm demeanor. You got to have a good, you have to be an outgoing person, right? Because a little bit, you're going on board. Before COVID, you shake the captain's hand and you take command of the vessel from them. You got to have a command presence. You got to, because when I first started, right, there was hardly any women. So I got all that craziness going on. I got flashlights flashed in my face, like, you're a woman. Like, yes, it's your lucky day. You have a woman pilot. So yeah, you gotta be able to handle situations. You have to understand, it's nice. I came from an ocean going career, so I can understand what the crew's been through coming across the ocean. And, you bring them a newspaper, bring them some candy, and up the bay you go. So you want to welcome them here and help them get up there safe and sound to the berth. So That's the job.
Yeah. It just looks so scary to do that. And then you hear the stories of a few pilots that have been killed, and imagine that in
Yeah.
icy and slippery, and wow, I don't.
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
that's at the forefront right now. Of course, we lost 2 New York pilots very close together last year. So, that's a big discussion. We've come up with some new ways to report pilot ladder deficiencies to the Coast Guard and amongst ourselves, so that we're really thinking about, improving that safety.
Mm.
But we've been doing it, climbing those ladders for years and years.
Yeah, amazing.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought this was nice. It says that Chris says he's going to pay for your membership. It's an honor. Laura says aquariums make great captains.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And Aaron says agree on the aquariums, and and fellow Central New Yorker as well.
There we go.
Oh, Lou Novak is a friend of mine, Merchant Mariner, and he asks, are you both bay and docking pilots?
I am one of the last bay pilots solely because we merged with the docking pilots in 2004. So I came in 96. So now all our pilots were merged with the docking pilots here. So we're all the Association of Maryland Pilots. And yeah, so I used to, dock and undock ships without tugboats, but now pretty much the harbor, the ones that we train for the harbor do that. Such a long transit, we're never not going to have a group of our guys that work just in the harbor, because a lot of them now, they undock their own ships, but when they come all the way up the bay 10 hours, we put a docking pilot on there to get them docked. But we're all Maryland pilots. We're all trained together now.
Mm. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our questions. So thank you so much for a great presentation. It was
I
really
hope it was
informative and
helpful.
nice. A great question and answer session too. I always like that part. I feel like I'm an interviewer. Let's see. So it's time for us to say thank you so much for joining us and giving us your presentation. We learned tons, and our gift to you is this handy dandy CAPCA mug here.
Oh, nice.
And that can replace the one that you have on your helm now, so you can use one of those.
There you go. Perfect.
And
That's
I will
great.
get your particulars in terms, Yvonne will give me your address and so on, and I will ship it out to you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I've got a nice mug for you guys too,
Oh.
for inviting me.
Oh, cool.
Wow, this is turning out to be really great.
There you go. Perfect.
Yes. So, all right. So thank you so much. And I have a few things I need to tell everybody about our next coming up speakers. And so what we have coming up next month is a panel on how to work your license. And so we'll have Dale Plummer from Towboat US and Rick Luigi from Bain Brothers and Jake Iverson from Watermark. And then we have Susie Acevedo, who's has her own school business delivery and is looking for captains to work out of Annapolis and then Puerto Rico and do in the Caribbean, I believe. So there'll be lots of opportunity there. And then the next month is our own Captain Washington, going to say a few words about the rules of the road. And then we have Captain Matt Edwards from the Coast Guard. He's going to talk about the Conception mishap and the changes that made to small passenger vessels. Then we also have another Coast Guard representative, Angel Calderon, that'll speak to commercial vessel safety. Specialist can answer some charter boat questions if anybody has that, or, he said he would cover, I asked him to cover if, we had any sort of casualties or mishaps and what the paperwork requirements are. So we can ask those kind of questions. And then in September, I just confirmed Annie Richards, river keeper for not the Chester River keeper. And the last one is Lou, who did our last question tonight, and I've roped him into telling us about his volunteer opportunities for captains. So that's what's up and coming, and I'll turn it back to you, Captain Washington.
Thanks, Beth. That was a great presentation. I think everybody really enjoyed it. Just a few things. At our peak, we had about 73 participants tonight, which is really good. So we have, since we started out, the first one was close to 60. We went up close to 90 the last time. This one, 73. So I think we're doing pretty good in terms of participation.
We didn't get the scouts that this time. They had already something else booked, or it would have been the same numbers.
Okay, cool. Very good. On Wednesday, the 24th, this coming Wednesday, the Eastport Yacht Club is having their 11th annual Marine and Maritime Career Fair, Career Expo, and it is going to be virtual. We are participating. We have a virtual booth in which you will see a video that I put together that we usually have presented in the past. We've participated in this live action for a number of years. So it runs from 12:30 to 2:30. I'm not sure the exact link, but you can go to eycfoundation.org and get more information. But it's this coming Wednesday, the 24th. At this point, I'd like to, we need some more volunteers. This is a volunteer organization. We have lost a couple of people on various and sundry reasons. Either they're moving out of the area or they've workload has prohibited them from dedicating more time to their positions. We are looking to fill the positions of communications director, jobs program director, speakers bureau coordinator, and then doing a little more deep diving, I found we also need an assistant editor for the Constant Contact, an assistant to the programs and events director, and also an assistant Twitter monitor. If you go on our website, you can check out all the particulars as to what it takes to fulfill the requirements of these positions. Again, it's voluntary. It really doesn't matter where you live, or the only caveat is if you're going overseas, then maybe it would be a little more difficult because of bandwidth and so on that we may have here, they may not have overseas. But other than that, a lot of the stuff, as you see, we're doing from home. With the exception of when we were live, we had the once a month meetings at the Elks Lodge in Annapolis. But other than that, and stuff like the annual Marine and Maritime Career Expo and the occasional speakers request, which we did live, a lot of this could be done at home. We're kind of mastering this virtual thing, and I think it's working out very nicely. I think that's all I have. Does anybody else, any of the other officers, directors, have anything to say? Does anybody have anything to say? You can unmute and let us know. No? Okay. Then that not being said, you all have a good rest of the day. Until we meet again next month. Keep checking the website for, Carl, did you have something? We're just saying bye. Okay. So keep checking the website, keep checking the Constant Contact, make sure it's not going into your spam box. And with that, we'll close out the meeting. Everybody stay safe and we'll see you next time.